Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are calling from. Welcome to this new webinar of Will, where we're going to discuss the mysterious MCP. Very technical talk for something that can do cool stuff within your Will workspace. You only need to have an LLM client like ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, or Claude, or Gemini. We're going to kick this off in 3 minutes, but for everyone who is already within this webinar, good morning, good afternoon. Well, it's good afternoon for us because I'm located in Belgium together with my lovely colleague, whale expert, also known as Alexandra. She's here to answer all of your questions or let me know if there are any questions. We're located in Belgium, the land of good beer, good fries, and good chocolate. And it's very hot in Belgium over the last 2 weeks. Europe is literally on fire, and if there is something we didn't invest in early on was air conditioning. So we're coping ourselves and helping ourselves with desk fans and hand fans and just trying to stay completely still so we don't sweat. If you see a single tear dropping, not because I'm sad, simply because it's blazing hot in Belgium. For everyone joining, welcome to this new webinar when we are going to explain different use cases of the MCP, different and we're going to solve the mystery that is the MCP. If you have any questions and it's your first time in Zoom, we do have a Q&A section. So at the bottom, you will have the opportunity to ask a question or leave a remark if you want to participate. Don't make me feel like I'm presenting on QVC and just saying, hey, if you're calling in within the next 10 minutes, we will throw in the new whale sweater, summer sweater. That's not going to be the case. But it always feels like if we're doing these webinars, that would be a little bit on QVC. Just want to know where everyone is from. So let's already test the Q&A section so you all know where to find it, that you can type in it, and you can leave your questions. Where are you based? Somewhere. Like myself and my colleague, Alexander, are from Belgium, the only land of good beer, good fries, and good chocolate. People are finding the Q&A. Oh, we have another one from Belgium. We have Florida in the house. Well, I don't need to say in Belgium because you guys are also coping with heat. We have, I think MA stands for Maryland, if I'm not mistaken. Way up north. I'm in Massachusetts. Oh, got it. He ran in the house. Well, Louisiana. I do love me some good chicken. Like you guys can cook. We're going to give people 2 more minutes before we kick off the mysteries of the MCP. Because let's be honest, what's in the name? MCP. I'm here to show you all of the cool stuff that we can do with the MCP because I'm not a developer. People that are AI, more into AI, or let's say more on the IT aspect of things, they probably know the long version of the MCP. I'm not. I'm the head of customer success here at Whale. Been with Whale for the last 4.5 years already. I just know what the MCP can do. And that's the most important thing. We discovered that together today in today's webinar. Again, if you have any questions and it's your first time in Zoom, drop your questions in the Q&A section. You can find that within the bottom. We're not 100% sure yet if we're going to send the recording at the end of this webinar. So it's most important that you stick this one out, but I'm going to be very short. I don't need to have the entire 30 minutes because the MCP is working fast. It is working very, yeah. I was looking for another word, but I can't call it the word in English. Very precise. That was the word that I was looking for. So let's kick off this webinar. I'm going to share my entire screen. Whoop, that is for at the end of this webinar, we do have something cool that we want to share. But first things first, the MCP. What is the MCP? Well, basically, in human language, what does that mean? Is that we're going to connect your Will workspace onto your LLM system. LLM system. What does an LLM system mean? Another difficult word. Basically, the AI tools that you are currently already using within your company. Maybe the names ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Microsoft Copilot do ring a bell. Well, those are LLM systems, and that is the systems that we're going to hook Will on within your LLM. The reason why that can be so beneficial, well, first things first, and that is if you're chatting with Claude or with Gemini, that does, or with ChatGPT, again, whatever tool that you're using, you're working on a project, right? You want to work on an SOP, for instance. Well, technically, they're grabbing all of the information of the World Wide Web. To what extent does that apply to your own company standards? Well, none. So, to that extent, with Whale being the one single source of truth, because you have documented all of your SOPs, your processes, your guidelines, all of the knowledge in there, we're going to use Will as that source. If you're going to create a process, for instance, where you want to create a new customer and you're drafting everything out within your LLM system, well, to that extent, it's going to use the guidelines, the processes, the SOPs that you already have stored within your Will workspace as the foundation on how to do so. How would you connect Will to your LLM system? Well, that is fairly easy to do. Well, side note though, it's only administrators that can basically create a connection like that. You're going to go into the settings, into your workspace settings, and you go to the AI settings. This is the settings where you can already rebrand Alice. Maybe you knew, maybe you didn't. This is the place where you can basically replace Alice by your office dog, your office cat, or maybe your mascot if you want to, and give already some guidelines on what your company is literally all about. But we're here today to talk about the MCP. And if you switch to the tab of MCP, this is everything that you need when connecting everything with the Model Context Protocol, but also known as the MCP. So what do you want to do? It's super easy to do. I use Claude, so I'm going to use this as within a Claude example, that you only need to use the URL. The moment that you copied the URL and you want to, going to share my desktop here, and you want to go to Claude, and within Claude, you have something where you can basically go to your settings, go to your connectors, and then add a custom connector. If you're going to add a custom connector, you're going to simply copy paste that URL into there. You're going to give your connector a name, and then you're going to click on add. The moment that you click on add, it will basically take you to the login screen of Whale again. As you can see here, my MCPs are up and running, but it does mean that basically if you click on connect, it will take you to the login screen of Whale again. It will ask you to log in again, and then it connects to your MCP. And it's all fun and games from there. So I did already prepare some use cases where you can use the MCP for. First things first, that is the following, and I'm going to drag my own little hat away, and that's this little guy here. Within my workspace, I am basically the food line. The food line is a grocery chain within the United States, but fun fact, it has its origins within Belgium, where we call it Deleuze. So we originated the food line in, I think, 1936, before it basically swam the ocean over to the United States. But we have it literally across the corner of our office. Hence why my demo workspace is the food line. So if I go back to Claude, what I ask Claude is like, hey, I want to create a very nice looking template that I can use for every one of my future policies and procedures. I want to have my logo on there. I want to even have a little bit more nice looking stuff in my. The reason why I'm adding that in here is because the editor of Will can do much, but doesn't necessarily very, how would I put it? Layout driven. We're here, if you're using the normal editor of Will, we're here to capture your processes, but anything fluff around it almost can be very hard to achieve. So to that extent, I asked to basically create me something in a very HTML wise where that I can basically use for Will. But of course, I need to get that within Will. So that is the reason why you want to have the MCP connected to your Will workspace, because that is the next prompt that I did. Hey, can you create a card like this directly within this playbook and using the MCP of Will? So basically, what I've done is go to a certain playbook, copied the link of that playbook. So you can easily do that by clicking on Share Playbook and copy the link. I went back to Claude and just asked, hey, can you create a card in there? So basically what it did was simply what I've asked, and it created the entire template in here, where it's completely compliant with the green, with that red, everything looking a little bit more decent than I normally would. And it took me 2 minutes, literally 2 minutes. And how would I be able then to duplicate that to any other cards? Well, simply what I've done is copy everything, like select everything, go to my settings again, go to the card templates, and I just created this one. Yeah, this, and I copy pasted it in here, the SOP template. And now it's a template that everyone can use whenever they are creating new processes. Create card, SOP template, and now that template is in here with everything with that nice looking layout you want. So that's already a first thing that you can do. But imagine that you have created this template, right? What you can do as well is that everything else that is currently not yet within that template, you can ask the MCP to rebrand it. Because this is, for example, something that we created way before we came up with a certain template. So what I can do is copy the link to the card and just simply ask, can you rebrand this? We just created. While this one is running, it will basically rebrand that entire process and how we set it out to do. Another use case that you can use it for is the following. Imagine that you already have all of your training guidelines within Will. So for example, what we have done is we have our training resources uploaded in Will, like how to do the trainings, how to do a writer training, how to do a reader training. Because that's the thing though, we place every piece of knowledge. We build training flows for our new hires, we build new SOPs for our seasoned employees, and we train them on them. And again, that is nothing new within Will if you're using training flows, if you're using the assignments feature. So that is already knowledge that you put out of your hat, put it in Will, and make sure that all of this is then basically learning material that people can be trained upon. But then again, right? Because we documented the knowledge, we trained people on the knowledge, we can hold them accountable with the analytics, of course, that we have stored when they did the training or which version they did the training. Then we want to maybe also have a little bit of quality control most. And this is where the next use case comes into play. Within this use case, you have the possibility to then just upload a call transcript like I did here. Hey, this is a call transcript, a training that someone of my CSMs has done. So to this extent, I would just ask it like, hey, can you check this call that Tucker did? And is it on par with the guidelines on how we give training within Will? And in this way, I can get a little bit from a manager's point of view, a little bit more like what deviates from the guidelines, what lines up very well. And instead of asking, for example, or watching the call or asking Tuck how the call went, or basically reading the call notes, under 2 minutes, I have the exact same thing that I want. I can create a little bit of a scorecard almost for the calls that my team is doing. The reason why? Because that information is stored within Will. And the added benefit of that as well is with the MCP of Will, it will always pull the latest versions. Because that's also the thing. Even if you use external tooling or you upload documentation into that, it's very static content because you need to troubleshoot it every time. And when the process changes, you need to re-upload all of your agents almost with that static content that you uploaded as a knowledge source. Like I think ChatGPT is the one with agents, for example, where you can upload like a knowledge brain almost in format of a PDF. Gemini does the same. But that is very, very static knowledge. But then, well, you're already trained to get that information into the system. You're already trained to review that, to update it, to train them on that. So also here, if you then hook up that wheel onto the MCP, it makes sure that it will always take the latest guidelines when you are asking them to review a call. Also, in this sense, like in this case, like we're here, is still basically matching the content to the source card and now is reapplying the updates. You can actually see that they're managing the card mutations, as you can see. Also here, to that extent, not doing anything. You're just prompting what you want it to be done. But that is a very important side note that I want to make as well. AI is cool. AI can do a lot of cool stuff, especially now with the MCP. But you need to know how to prompt. Really think about what you want it to be doing. You can create card mutations. You can delete content. You can easily also just start up a new chat and ask, hey, are there any duplicates within my workspace? Can you give me an overview of like the latest versions that people are working on? You can use that because the MCP can read, it can create, it can write, it can change, it can edit, it can do everything that you want. So let's say this chat is done. And I think it was this one that we wanted to be changed. And as you can see, everything is now more into that new card format that we wanted it to have, with those terms, with those blue blocks, with those responsibilities in that new table format. So as you can see, as we would go in the version control and do a side by side, it completely changed and I didn't need to lift a finger. So even if you are having a complete rebranding almost, if you have, for example, a new template and you want to retroactively remove that to the, how would I put it? If you want to retroactively apply it to anything that you have current, let the MCP do that for you as well. Or let's just say that you're drafting an SOP directly within, again, what we've done here. If you're drafting an SOP and it shouldn't only be a template, for instance, what you can do as well is basically then ask it like, hey, everything that we've set into this chat, draft it into an SOP, draft it into a policy, draft it into a procedure, and push it into this playbook. Because again, and use this template. You don't need to lift a finger because you're basically grabbing all of the knowledge that is within your head and then push it through the Will workspace. So you can use it for creation, you can use it for editing, you can use it for quality control almost based on your guidelines. Hell, even for example, if you have a process on how to run a payroll, and you would have, hey, you've run the payroll, this is how you run the payroll because that information is stored within Will. You can definitely ask, hey, and you end up with a payroll report, for instance. Of course, you want to see if that payroll report that you've pulled is in complete guidelines with how you stored it within Will. Ask your MCP. Ask your MCP to cross-reference the report with everything that you have in Will, and if it comes out correctly, or if you missed a step, that helps, that tracks. So to that extent, that MCP can do quality control again, edit, create, delete, search for duplicates, anything that you want. AI is super powerful, but again, you need to think about how you want to use it. Again, if you want to install the MCP, you need to have an AI basically tool, whether it be Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, or Microsoft Copilot. Your administrator can set that up. Go to AI settings, go to MCP, and then you want to just add that as a custom connector within your plan. And then everyone is able to connect with that MCP if they want to. And then just start scoping. Did you create a template? Did you want to add it? Do you want to do quality control? Anything else you want to have in between is something you can do. And there is nothing more to it. It's as simple as that. Whether the word MCP is super hard from time to time to understand, because let's be honest, my initial take was, MCP? But the moment that you get your hands on it and you start to play with it and you're starting to do different use cases, instead of doing it for 30 minutes, if it's already stored within cloud or your AI tool, just create it directly into Will. That is your living brain within this center. For our plans that are now on scale or on advanced or still trialing Will as we speak, it is free to try now and is available as an add-on on the 1st of September. We don't have any official pricing just yet. Our go-to-market leadership is still working on that. The moment we have that pricing, we can start to share that one out. But again, we're at the beginning of August. We still have 30 days to go. So please make sure to try it out, test all different use cases. Chat with us via support at usewhale.io or chat with us in real time and share your use cases with us, because I'm dying to know which use cases you are coming up with. And we also have something else that is super fun for our customers that, or basically also the ones that are taking a trial. We're having a back to school quiz, because we do understand that within the United States, school is already start to gearing up. Well, in Belgium, we still have until the 1st of September, but we already wanted to do a back to school quiz. What is that? It's basically learning Whale, or to basically test how well you know Whale. And the top scorer is eligible to grab a free team lunch. So the more members of your team that participate in it, the better. And you will get, there is one shot of glory. So don't let Karen of accounting beat you. And we're going to post that link in the Q&A as well in a second, or is already done. So this was the webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to stick around. I'm going to open up the Q&A and see if there are any questions. If you are good and if you are full, please feel free to enjoy the rest of your day. I'm sticking around if you want to know the answers to the questions. Dennis Pierce, I'm struggling with adding the MCP to the Copilot like Stino did with Claude. I'm hoping he can provide some guidance after the presentation. Dennis, I will reach out via email because I do need to have some screenshots to see where you are stuck. If there are any questions, please feel free to let me know. If not, please feel free to enjoy the rest of your day and let me do QVC for 3 more minutes. Don't forget to do that quiz. If you want to do the quiz, it is backtoschoolquiz.usewhale.io. I'm going to present it again within. Here you go. So backtoschoolquiz.usewhale.io. Miss Johnson, you raise your hand. Can you type your question into the chat if you want? I know that there is a question, but can you please type it into the chat? I think I might have figured it out. We're using Microsoft rather than Copilot Studio. Feel free to reach out if you have any further advice. Awesome. Yeah, it is Microsoft 365 Copilot, not Copilot Studio. Like it's the native. I know that it's the native Microsoft AI feature. So use that one. Lisa, thank you so much. Luca as well. Thank you so much. If people have questions, please feel free to stick around. As Johnson, without AI connected, I understand that there is very limited formatting with the basic will. Correct. Well, technically, no. The thing is, it's not limited as in you can easily copy paste anything that you have within currently standing. Like you can easily copy paste that within a car template. But of course, if you want to have the fancy ones posted within Will, like if you want, this is something that you can easily build within Will. But for example, these colors, for instance, if you want to have a little bit more than the other colors that are by default, can be used. That is then something that you can easily draft with an HTML builder and push it via the MCP. There is something else that I've done to give you an example, and this is literally something that I used within my Will workspace. Is, for example, if you go to our customer success hub and we're talking about post onboarding, touch points, for example, this is not something. I don't think that any tool is allowing you to build it like that, even not Microsoft Word. The thing is, I always compare our editor, our default editor, with Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word is also not the most shiniest one as well. If you want to do some cool stuff, you often go to PowerPoint or you use any other tool that you want to have. For example, like this is a again, this is something that you would build in a slide, but this is something that I've built with Claude and then pushed it via the Claude integration into Will, because it's then something that I can change directly within to the Will system, right? So to that extent, if you want to have like this is considered AI. If you don't, otherwise you're like, you can use the editor. It's not that basic, but I would say like it's best compared with Microsoft Word to that extent. But if you want to have like full blown insanity, you can use Claude as well. I hope that answered your question. Can the defaults be changed of a template? Yes, you can do branding, but this is already beyond the MCP. As an administrator, you have the possibility to always change your branding. So normally you have your Will branding, but this is where you can change the fonts, the color of the title header, the headline, the subheadline, and how your paragraphs are looking like. But this is a unified editor across the entire workspace. The reason why everything needs to be concise and consistent within Will, because you would or you can underestimate how hard it can be to basically have every process in a different font. Well, technically, everything will be in the same font if you're doing the branding of your workspace correctly. So you can change the color of the headline, and you can use the hex color codes for that if you want to defer from the default colors that we already provide you. And then that are the colors that you're able to use within the editor. You will also see within the card template that you can use different colors as well to highlight, to highlight the text, to change the text color as well. That is all stuff that you can use. That's all stuff that it's available in Microsoft Word as well. So yeah, you can defer from the default if you want. Any other questions? I see that Lisa already shared the quiz. So if people want to grab a chance of winning free team lunch, it's your time. I'm going to close this webinar in a minute or so. So if you have any more questions, send them to your own customer success manager if you have one. If you don't, send your questions to support at